Hello everyone, this is Reggie Time, and as you can see today we are doing a bit of a mashup between Sky Poker on the left and Triple Eight on the right. The 20L Triple Sky Poker table, 30L Snap table over here, and that is subject to change throughout the video because if the tables go bad on Sky or whatever, there's a chance that we may switch. We may end up with 2 tables of Sky, we may end up with 2 tables of Snap or whatever. It's just hopefully going to help keep the video flowing when we don't have much action on Sky, and hopefully give us things to continue talking about on Triple Eight. And also it's because I'm making the video at lunchtime on Tuesday in the UK, and traffic on Sky, it's not exactly overflowing with traffic right now. So if we can find another good table on Sky, we will shift this Snap table out, because the Snap tables aren't that great either. But you know, I fancy making a video, I fancy playing a little bit of poker, so why not match the two up and see if we can't get something good happening at lunchtime. We flop a set on a monotone flop, tons of draws out there, no reason to slow play. Start by making a reasonable sized bet, and unfortunately for Huzzy, just that insta folds, which is disappointing. But what can we do? We can't make people call, can we? Can't force the calls. It's Cody X, a funny one. I'm not sure. He turns up at a few tables. He just seems like a name. I'm not sure about him yet. Not sure how to classify him. Hopefully we get some action with our 2 kings on Triple Eight games. Wow, just gonna get a walk, are we? Kings twice in what, 2 minutes 23 seconds. Hopefully we can get some more action this time. That's a pretty damn good flop. A bit pretty big. It's not the scariest board if he does have some kind of pocket pair. And he just folds, so whatever. I based my C-bets and my sizings much more on board texture than anything else. If it's a decent board texture, if it's a wet board and I've got a strong hand, I'll make a larger bet. If it's a dry board, I'll make a smaller bet irrespective of my hand strength. It's just how I go about things. I think that's pretty common practice these days with many players. I don't think I'm giving any trade secrets away with that particular strategy, but it is something that I see other players in my games not really adopting, and I think some of them might do better if they did kind of adopt some better post-flop sizing strategies. King 10 offsuit. Kind of want to play it because of the fish in the blind, but he's out of middle position. He's from Serbia, so he's likely to be, even though he didn't have a full stack, he's not likely to be like super loose and super bad. So King 10 off versus middle position with the guy that we're most likely to win chips from only having 30 or big blind. I think we can just let it go. For those of you who don't know, I am pretty much a fucking big nit. There's no secret to it. I am a nit. I try to just gamble with the nuts where possible, and yeah, I'll make a few tight folds that other players won't make, but I don't think that does me any harm. In fact, if anything, I think it does me quite a lot of good, because it just keeps me out of lots of like shitty marginal situations that we don't need to deal with, and that, to be frank, I don't fucking want to deal with. When I first started making videos, I wasn't 100% true to myself, because I wanted to make videos that made me look like a good regular, you know, if you know what I mean. I wanted to I went to be doing all the 3-betting, the 4-betting, and all these things that you see on lots of other players doing. I wanted to be sexy, basically. I wanted to just make sexy poker videos. Now I couldn't give a fuck about that. I just want to make videos that demonstrate how I get the job done, that hopefully help other guys just like me get the job done in a similar manner. And I'm not too fucked about impressing other regulars anymore, or not worried about of other people saying, yo, you suck, you're a fucking nit, you this, you that. I couldn't give less of a toss anymore. And I just make videos that are really true to myself. I don't try and be something I'm not. I haven't been trying to be something I'm not for a while now, but I'm just very comfortable in my own skin as a poker player. Which I wasn't when I first started making videos. In terms of like a video maker, I was comfortable in my skin as a poker player, but I wasn't comfortable in my skin as a video player. Now I very much am. And whatever, it's all good fun. I'm going to call because our friend here has the fish tag. Unfortunately, we don't flop very well. We flop 2 backdoors with the backdoor straight draw and the backdoor flush draw, but if he bets quite big, we're just going to let it go, and he does bet quite big. We're not going to be looking to make moves on players with fish tags. It's not in my overall strategy. Wow, look at this, 6 minutes in, and we've had kings, aces, and so far we're not exactly making money with them, are we? How's 3 big balls going to react to my open? Yeah, this is a problem with like snap games this time of day. Well, all poker at this time of day, but particularly snap games. The games are just like fucking so moderate to play, and they're just like really like kind of nitty, and which is nothing wrong with people playing nitty, by the way. I'm not criticising them because I clearly do it myself, but they just don't make good games to play in. It's just hard to get action on your good hands because people are just folding a lot. But at the same time, you know, it's if people are folding a lot, you could argue, well, let's be more loose aggressive. Let's try and steal more pots. But that's never been a big part of my strategy, stealing blinds and like ramming and jamming with marginal hands. It's just something that doesn't work for me, and I don't think it necessarily works that well in the micro six, full stop. All you're doing a lot of the time is you're increasing your rate costs without really making yourself that much more difficult to play against, or increasing your big blinds per 100. All you're doing with doing that is you might feel like you're playing more poker, you might feel like you're doing the right thing, but most of the time you're just putting your rake up by double. You know, my rake is less than 10 blinds 100 the style I play. It's way less than 10 blinds 100, which has given me a massive edge on those paying 13 and 14 blinds 100 anyway. But if I start putting my costs up by playing looser, so therefore like paying more rake per 100 hands, then I've got to assume that I'm going to be getting tons more value for the hands that I'm playing, and I don't believe that I am most of the time. We have very easy isolation raise there when 2 limpers with the king 8. We're going to play the jack 9 suited because of all the green players to come behind us. And unfortunately Flux has just jammed, and we're going to have to fold our hand. And donked into a very dry board. We're going to make a small raise. We have backdoor everything. 2 overcards, so it's a reasonable time to raise over a min bet and a call. Big Watch does disappoint us by calling the raise, and then he leads into us at quite an inappropriate moment. What price are we getting here? We're getting fucking hell's bells. We're getting a hell of a price here. We just have to call to try and hit a king or our good shot, I guess. We're just getting the right price, I'm afraid, so we have to flick the money in. And we do indeed make our good shot, which is nice. And I mean, the nuts is 8-9. If he's got the 8-9, then Hail Mary. We're going to hope he's just going to call off for the chop, which he does do, and we get to drag a nice pot. Happy, 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 happy days. Just a note to you guys who would call for a chop there. If you get raised on a board like that on the river, it's just so unlikely. I mean, he bet calling there, betting 30 and betting 30 blinds and calling the river off there it's not nice from him. It's not nice at all. He couldn't have played the hand very much worse, to be honest with you. We clearly need to tag him as one of those guys, along with his friend who just did the the bonkers min donk line, but we'll take it, you know. We will take it. I've just been saying how bad the games are, and we've just dragged the pot down for $64 each, which isn't unpleasant. It's not unpleasant at all. It's already been a good day for me. I've managed to haggle with Dell to get more compensation for the faulty computer that they sold me. My mum's just had a hip replacement operation, and she's been out for the first time since today, and her mobility was significantly increased. And she's in a really good mood, which has put me in a really good mood. And I come back, and my number one son has just found a job, my eldest son. So all in all, it's been an absolutely splendid day to be in Reg World. And then we just have somebody just dumping a stack on us. What a glorious, glorious day. You're going to enjoy these days when they come, because we all know what life's like. It's not always like this, is it? So when these days arrive, we really do need to try our best to maximise our enjoyment of them. 2/8. Google, who I'd have a read, might not be a particularly good player, so we're just going to call. I don't think Google's going to squeeze too often. I'm going to fold the Queen Jack to the 3-bet, and this table isn't looking too great on Sky. I didn't think Sky was going to be the site that provided the bad table for this video, but it's like it is at the moment. I might well pause the video in just a moment and look for another. In fact, I'm definitely going to now. I sit out next big blind on the Sky table, and I'll pause the video. You guys won't know about it. There'll be another Sky table popping up momentarily. So we couldn't find a decent Sky table just now, so we stopped trying, and we're just back with 2 tables. Unfortunately, whilst I was away, Triple H sat me out. I was waiting to find some tables, and the telephone rang. A few other shitty things happened. Basically, when I came back to the computer, I wasn't at the table anymore. So unfortunately, we've lost our deep stack, which is a shame, because it's nice to play deep. The deeper we can play, the better. We have a pair and an open-end straight draw. He min dunks into us. We got all 3. Well, not all 3 options. We've got 2 options open to us here. We can just call, or we can raise. And we'll just go with the call option. If he's donking a made hand, he almost certainly has a better hand than us, and he might be going for the donk 3-bet line, which some fish do. Min donk 3-bet. Now he makes it much bigger. We have to call again. We do not improve on the river, unfortunately, so now we have to fold. If he bets, he checks. I think he's likely got a jack here, would be my main guess. Maybe he's just getting super tricky with a king. But either way, we've got a tiny amount of showdown value, and I don't think he's ever going to fold a better hand, so there we go. Really good flop for our 2 10s against Google, so we're going to lead out for a big bet. Tons of hands we can get called by. No reason to make a small bet there. Looking back to that other hand, he min bet nothing. He min bet a weak second pair. He improved his bet size, or he increased his bet size when he turned a draw. Then just check the river. Not really sure what to make of that, to be honest with you. It's something that I would absolutely go ahead and know if I wasn't making a video right now. In terms of his bet size, he may well reflect how much he likes his hand or his equity, or however you want to word it. Reasonable chance to win a nice sized pot here against Bluer. Not the best of turn cards, because I don't think he has an ace very often, but it's going to be much harder to get value now. Can we still bet to get value from some worse hands? That is the question I have to ask myself. I think he's maybe a little bit too thin, so we're just going to check back and maybe think about calling some rivers, depending on his sizing. We're going to bet quite small here on table 2 with our gut shot and backdoor flush draw. And we're just going to take our showdown now, and we do beat the 4-7, which isn't unpleasant. We're not going to barrel the turn. It's a good card for his range in terms of Jack X is definitely a big part of his calling range. Queen 10 still isn't folding. I don't think we'll get too many folds. We'd have picked up a bit extra equity. We're just going to try and capitalise on that. There's no point semi-bluffing if you don't have fold equity, or you don't think you have much fold equity, which is why I didn't opt for the semi-bluff on the turn. I think now we're just going to give up. I don't think he's going to fold a king if we bet. I think he would probably lead a jack on the river. I don't think he's got a jack, but I don't think he's going to fold a king. It'd be a shame if he turns up with like worse gut shots, like a 10-9 or something, but whatever. King 4, I don't think he's going to fold that. Happy with how I played the hand. Once he check calls that flop and the jack comes on the turn, I guess we could try and triple because we do pick up some equity, but it's just not that good a board for running triple barrel bluffs on, in my opinion, once we get called. Sometimes you can just get stuck in a bluff and not know when to stop, and usually on boards that don't change very much, they're usually the times to think about stopping. We call here, not because I think my hand's good or anything like that, of course, but we're in position against a player that isn't reloading his stack, and of course because we're going to flop a flush. I'm not going to slow play this hand. It's just very vulnerable to another club coming. There's a good chance we can definitely get called by worse. With like all kinds of draws out there. Yes, we've got like a really strong hand at the moment, but it is vulnerable to lots of action killing cards coming, or cards that just beat us. So we'll try and get the value where we can, and if we can't get it, well, we can't get it. We can't, again, we just talked about earlier, we can't force people to call. We could bet a little bit small there, I guess, but if someone's got a hand where they think they can call 9 big blinds, sorry, they can call 6.5, 7 big blinds, are probably going to be able to call 9 big blinds too. So I don't think my bet size put anybody off from calling there, really. 7-8 suited multi-way, it's not ideal, but we're getting 5-1, so we'll take a flop. Completely brick, makes the hand very easy to play. And we're still just check folding, and we're still going to be check folding the river. We do make a pair on the river, it's just super unlikely to be good. If somebody bets like 2 big blinds or something, we probably have to call, but we're just hoping it checks around and somehow we win. Can't think of many ways how we can win, but just hope somehow that we do. No, we were beating 2 spots, but nobody put any money in. 2 jacks. My wife hates this hand. So where are you from, Mia? I don't know anything about you. Just call. We don't mind keeping the guy with the fish tag in. QB boy. A reasonable flop for our hand. We're certainly going to call. It's a big C bet. We're not going to get too attached to the hand, but we're certainly going to call for now. If he bombs the turn, it's half potting the turn now. We can call this turn and then probably just fold rivers, I think. He's a little bit weak to fold now. He instantly checks the river. I don't think he has flushes very often here. Do we have to bluff? And we have reasonable showdown value. We don't think we have to bluff here. Wow. That was an ambitious second barrel. I just don't really see what he's barreling there for. Yeah, I guess he put some pressure on me. And maybe he could have got me off a couple of better pairs, but I'm not convinced by his barrel there. Maybe that's just the fucking inner nit in me not liking it, but it didn't seem good to me. We've been 3-bet here. We've got to put 6 more big blinds in. I don't like set mining in 3-bet pots, but we have to put 6 big blinds in, and there's like 92 big blinds behind, so we're getting, what, 15-1 implied odds. It's enough for me to see a flop. I don't like it very much at all, but we're getting such good implied odds. We did not bing the set. Never mind. We might still have the best hand here, of course. It's just going to be really hard to realise all our equity. That's the problem. And we turn the nuts on table 2. Table 1, sorry. I'm tempted to call just once here on table 2. Just to see if we can just like have him slow down. And he's showing, wow, that's a monster bet. Super easy fold now. I hope Ratter doesn't raise here. He doesn't, he just calls. We drag down another pleasant little pot. With the deuces there, on those dry boards, people are just going to continue on table 2 with most of the range, I would imagine. So we kind of have to call the flop, even though we don't like it. And that's kind of the problem with set mining in 3-bet pots. We just like, we're kind of in danger of folding too often on those types of boards. But then we call, we have to fold the double barrels. It just gets really fucked up. It's why I don't like doing it very often. But when we're getting 15-1 implied odds pre-flop, and then he c-bets a board that doesn't rate to hit him too hard, we can't just fold. But then once he absolutely bombs the turn, it might just be that he picked up a spade draw on the turn then and just decided to fucking go with it. But that's the advantage of initiative. Because he got us to fold a pair. I don't think he necessarily chooses that size with his over pairs. But maybe he does. Who knows? It looks like that size is designed to get folds more than it is to get calls to me. But we've only got deuces, we don't mind. It's a much tougher spot there if I've got like jacks or pocket tens or something like that. I mean, it's just not a tough spot with... It's not a tough spot when you only have a couple of little ducks in your hand. Ace king suited. Just calls. Very standard raise. And then he just folds. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. As you can see, I'm not getting remotely out of line with my ranges here, and it hasn't and probably never will prevent me from being a winning player at these limits. Will it prevent me moving up to the higher stakes? Almost certainly. But given that that's not really on my to-do list right now, I'm not really too fussed about it. Be quite disappointed if Gemini finds a raise here, but he doesn't, or she doesn't. We're going to be set mining with our tens. Well, not just set mining, of course. We'll be looking to try and see some turns and rivers sometimes too on good boards for us. Yeah, that's if fucking David ever gets his fucking, or Diva, whatever the fuck he's called. If he ever gets his act together and just sorts his fucking internet out. Wow, what is going on here? He's going like 8. Right, it's telling us there, is it? It's just giving him time, isn't it? Let's have a 10 right on the N. Nope, no 10 on the N. Don't think he checks back a queen too often, so if we're losing, we're probably losing to a jack. I'm going to bet for value here from some smaller pairs. Maybe if he's just, I don't want to just give him free equity if he's just in there with like an ace or a king of clubs or something. not free equity. I don't want him to realise his equity for free. Good shot, 2 overcards. Plenty of draws out there. So I'm going to go with my larger bet sizing on a wet board. We will be continuing on an ace, king, or a jack. We don't need to continue though on the turn because he makes life easy for us and just folds, which is a pretty excellent result. I've been squeezed by somebody who I know nothing about. Ace, queen off. It's kind of a trouble hand, isn't it? I mean, I guess we have to call, but far from in love with it. I think too many players would make a huge mistake there, a pretty big mistake by 4-betting. I don't expect Zlotta to have too many weeks to hands in his range for squeezing. It's just not something that happens in 13L Zoom, 13L Snap very often. Unfortunately, now we flop the ace and we kind of just have to go with our hand and just call down, and there's a pretty reasonable chance we could be dead here. But now the diamonds come, I think we can maybe make a case for getting away at some point if needs be. Part of me wants to bet here to protect against the lone diamonds sucking out on me. The other part of me just wants to check and hopefully just get a free showdown. So we're going to go with the latter option. And we're going to hope he just doesn't just fucking blast this river. I think we have to fold if he does. We could think about going for some thin value here, like betting really small, like 20 or something like that, just to try and get a hero call from pocket kings or something. But I don't know anything about this player, so we're just going to check back and wow, he just had the ace-7. Kind of makes a mockery of my pre-flop statement that I don't think he's going to be light there too often, because that was pretty damn light. But fair play to him. Again, that's something that we'll probably go ahead and note at the end of the session, that he is capable of 3-betting. It's not super like that. He's got an ace. It's a reasonable hand to 3-bet with. I guess it blocks some of our 4-betting range, etc. All that stuff that all the superstar whiz kids want to talk about pre-flop. So I guess it can't be terrible. It's just not something that I do. It's not something I think that you need to do in these games. I just don't think it's necessary. People are stealing super wide from button as players. It's just the games just don't play that way. They might do on other sites, but they just don't play that way on 888. And I just don't think there's any reason to do it. Nothing wrong with doing it. I just don't think you need to be doing it. There's a common misconception these days that you need to be doing all these things. You need to be super creative and super aggro. And I just don't have it. I just don't buy it. You can do it. There's nothing wrong with doing it. It's a means to being a winning player for sure, but it's not mandatory. I guess that's the message I'm trying to get across. If you want to use that style, you want to learn to play that style, then fantastic. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you already use that style and you win doing that, again, fantastic. I'm not criticizing the style in the slightest. I'm just saying it's not necessary. There are other ways to get a win rate in these games. Super easy fold with the 8-7. We flop trips by kicker on table 1. I wouldn't mind him just donking 3 times on here and just going call, call, call. It's the kind of boards that Fisher will just donk on with all the pocket pairs and things. He tanks and checks. Incredibly dry board. We're going to make an incredibly small bet. Maybe it induces some raises sometimes. Maybe it induces some really weak calls. Other times, people just fold, which isn't particularly a good result when we have trip aces. But it does demonstrate that we can make some really small bluffs from time to time on dry boards and get away with it. Do I want to 3-bet my 2 9s here? Nope, because we have this guy, this P-bird in the pot, so we'll call and try and flop a set, or try and play some good post flop against P-bird on playable boards, but sadly this one's just gone a little bit awry for us. We can't really call a continuation bet on King XX, would be just 2 9s. We flop, second pair and a good shot. Start by check calling, I think. You can definitely stab worse if we check to him. We turn the nuts. I'm going to continue with my check, try and rep a weak hand. At this point, when we have the nuts, it's just really not that easy to get value from worse too often. It's not hard for him to put us on an ace when we check the flop and then bet the turn on this board. So, and he snap checks back. I was contemplating just check calling the river rather than check raising because the diamond came. But yeah, he had 2 6s. We weren't going to make any more money in that. I think checking to him to induce bluffs is going to be better than value betting a lot of the time on that board. We check the flop, then we bet the turn. I mean, it's very obvious broadways out there. I mean, even the biggest fucking dribblers can figure that one out. So I'd rather just like massively underrep my hand and just hope that he just like randomly bluffs with a hand exactly like he had, like 2 6 or something. Just decides to turn his pocket 6s into a bluff, or just bet him for whatever reason. He might not consciously decide to turn his hand into a bluff, because there's lots of guys who just don't think that way, but then they just bet anyway for who knows what reason. It happens. It does happen plenty of the time. Ten 9 suited, pretty hand. If Baslef was in the big blind, I'd be really tempted to open it, but we've got regular, or regular, and at least somebody we know is aggressive, so we'd let it go from middle position. 10 9 is like right in the sort of hands that I will raise from middle position if there's some weak players behind me, but if there's only a really good players to act behind me, then I think it loses a hell of a lot of its value. So when there's only weak players left to go behind, it's a pretty easy fold for me. We can't just open the same hands from all positions. Well, we can open the same hands from all positions under all circumstances, but to me that's not as good as having flexible ranges that you manipulate to suit who's behind you in the hand, who's in front of you in the hand, what's happened. You know, it's people often come to me and say, right, I want hand charts to open which hands from which positions. I'm like, yeah, that's great, we can do that for you, but we can't be rigid with them, because sometimes we might want to open a little bit wider if there's quite a few fish at the table, and sometimes if we're like just a reg infested table, we might want to open just a little bit tighter. We don't just need to have static ranges. If we have static ranges, I think it kind of hinders our ability as a player. It takes away a lot of the thinking that we need to do to hopefully be a really good winning player. If you're just playing up a chart all the time, it can definitely stunt your growth and prevent creative thinking, and well, not necessarily creative thinking, but just prevent you putting good thought into what you're doing and why you're doing it. Check and maybe think about calling here if he bets. A bunch of good shots that missed, like Jack X, like Ace Jack's missed. Not to be fair, there's not a bunch of good shots that's missed, like Ace 10, I guess. But we block the 10s really hard. What do I think he's got given taking this line? I don't think he checks back a king very often on the flop. Then he just calls the turn, so I think he could have a queen when he just calls the turn. A weak king maybe. No real draws, no change. Paduki board. I think we'll just let it go. I was going to fold to this 3-bet. I think we still will anyway. If Afrikaans or whatever the heck he's called, if he had a full stack, I would think about calling, but I don't like set mining in position to 3-bets. I despise set mining out of position to 3-bets. So we'll just not do it. Where are you from, Cochrane? You're from Russia. Do I want to 3-bet you, or just want to call? Again, we're going to call to keep Big Vac in. We would have 3-bet. If we were in the, if there's a regular twat behind us, we may have 3-bet with the Ace Queen. Given there's a player with the fish tag behind us, we want to keep him in the pot. Because he's way more likely to win money from someone like him than we are from someone who could be a regular. And now we're just going to check raise for value and try and get all the money in as quickly as possible against Big Vac. And if he has us beat, well, that's just life. So many draws out there. So many worse hands he can have. Queen 10's just got there. 10-7's just got there. That's about it. He's going to bet and call it off here. Bet really big to get maximum value from all the draws. And he just folds. Well, I'll accept that as a reasonable result and move on. He flop top pair. It's not that much of a wet board. There's a flush draw and like a couple of straight draws, but some people like look at these boards and think that they are really wet. They're not that wet. So we're just going to make a middling sized bet. We have nothing much with our 10-8 on table 1, so I hate tagging Ukrainians as fish. I can't do it. He might just be some weak, tight, short stacking idiot, but I have a hard time believing he's going to be like a super fish, so we won't tag him. Maybe that's a bit of a blind spot on my outlook on the poker landscape, but Ukrainians are just, I haven't found too many bad ones when I've been playing, and I certainly haven't found too many loose Ukrainians, that's for sure. Same with Estonians too. So even when I see them like that, limping into a pot and they haven't got much of a stack, I'm still really reticent to. I want to see something to demonstrate that a fish. I want to see them like I want to get to showdown with them. I want to see how they've done something before I think, yep, you are definitely a fish. Because I just don't think there's many Ukrainians playing poker that aren't at least tight. Same goes for Latvians. Although I've ever come across some Latvian fish. Not many, but I have come across some. But we're not going to see bet in a multi-way pot. We may just have rivered the best hand here. Given I didn't want to bluff the flop, because I didn't think we'd get folds from like some of these pairs. Now we're just going to go for some thin value on the river. I'm not really sure what we're trying to get caught by, just any pair, I guess. So, limp, we complete, he makes it 5x, he calls. I think we're just going to fold the 7-9. It's a pretty hand, we want to see flops with it, but we don't want to see flops from like the small blind to the worst position post flop. Someone's asking us to put 5 blinds in already. With a hand like 9-7 that's mostly going to flop like weak made hands and not great draws. I think I use the analogy in a sweat session today with somebody. It's kind of a hand, it's like, you know, when you pull a bird in a nightclub and you've had about, I don't know, 10 or 11 pints and you think she's really fucking gorgeous. Like 9-7 suited to that bird, you're like, oh wow, what a pretty hand. And then you wake up next morning and she's got a hangover, her hair's all over the place, her makeup's half come off, and you're like, fucking hell. How on earth did I get myself in this situation? That's what happens with 9-7 suited. It's such a pretty hand pre-flop. You want to play it, and then the flop comes down, something like King, Queen, 3 rainbow. And you're like, oh, fuck me, my 9-7 suited looks fucking terrible now. And that's what it is. It's that 10-pint bird from the nightclub that looks alright, and then when you wake up in the morning, she looks fucking rough as toast a lot of the time. That's your 9-7 suited. That's all your kind of like sexy implied odds hands. When you're in position, sometimes they can still look pretty sexy because you have a chance to bluff with them. When you're out of position, they're just honkers. They're just fucking honkers. Hope the Gemini calls these so we get to look like we're bluffing with the squeeze. No such luck though, so we just go with the standard 3-bet. calls, 2 queens come down. I'll start by checking. We can rep ace king this way. Can definitely stab with worse hands. You know, we're behind 2 ace queen, jack queen suited basically. If he's got a queen, he's got a queen. Not too worried about that. It's just tough shit for us. But I kind of think if we check, he might just like stab with his worst pocket pairs. And of course, he might call with it when we bet, but I guess I'm just going to go check call something here. Now we've turned the nuts. We've gone from hoping he doesn't have a queen to hoping he does have a queen. And I just think he has a queen here now. It looks like he's committed, so we're just going to flick the rest in. And if it does turn out he's been bluffing using that sizing, then wow, he did just fold. Didn't think he was bluffing there. Did not think he was bluffing. A call in position against the person with the fish tag. Big balls. He's 3-bet a couple of times already this session. He might go for it again here. This time we've got the answer to the question. I'm just going to 4-bet and get it in here, I think. I'm not going to try anything fancy. And if he has the cue for ace king suited, then we have to take the medicine. He doesn't yet have the cue for ace king suited. And he doesn't finish with the cue. I mean, that's, for me, it's just pure spew, in my opinion. And wow, we're getting in a cool spot with him again straight away. I mean, I've folded twice to his 3-bets, and then he just like makes a ridiculous. I mean, that's it, to me, that's just a bad regular thing. I guess he can just call with his ace-10 suited, see a flop maybe, or what have you, but I have no fucking clue what's just happened there. I'm going to presume it's just a bad regular, not really knowing what he's doing. Going to call with the king jack, keep the guy in the pot who hasn't got the full stack and just limped in. So yeah, it's been a good session. I wasn't expecting Triple Eight to be the conduit for good news this session. I was kind of just I only put Triple Eight on just to kind of give some talking points while we hopefully played some good tables on Sky. It turns out we've probably won best part of 2 or 3 buy-ins on Triple Eight instead, which is pleasing. But we are going to end the video shortly because it's nearly time for me to get ready for work. I have an afternoon session in work today. So yeah, it's time to go and have something to eat almost, and let's prepare for that. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I think we'll leave it on that high note with the ace king. And yeah, it's nice to end on a high note. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. There'll be plenty more to come as we continue in the Heights of Poker season. We're just going to play around to our blinds, and then we're going to call it a day. How bad do we run? Do not flop a set. Not going to see bet. We do turn a set. You've got to mourn. Sometimes you've got to mourn and things happen. You've checked twice. I don't expect them to be too strong here, so we're not going to bet too big. And we just get 2 folds. So yeah, we run bad again because we have a set and nobody has anything. Flopped an absolute airball here. So we're just going to stick with our small bet strategy. on dry boards, and we take it down with 8 high. Happy days. So there we go, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them wherever you find it, at the Facebook group, Reddit, on the YouTube video itself. Just leave them and I'll be delighted to reply to you. But we'll leave it there, and we'll wish you all the best and see you next time. Bye bye for now.